Good morning, everyone. I am Dory Wolf, a board member, past president, here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you and invite you to fill out our visitor card, the yellow card in your pew, so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. We are a church in many places, some of us here in the pews and some joining us on YouTube from home or wherever we might be. Our world is a different one than it was in early 2020, and our worship service has changed accordingly. We're giving people choices in the pews as to distance between families and whether or not they would like to continue masking. We put a few offering baskets in the front and the back of the sanctuary for people to drop off their offering throughout the service rather than passing the plate. For those of us in the sanctuary this morning, let's take a moment to picture the dozens of friends and neighbors and those who we've not yet met who are taking part in this service on YouTube, either right now or later in the week as their schedules allow. Following the worship service, folks in the pews may head out to the gathering place for snacks and beverages, or perhaps head out to the courtyard and to the playground to chat. We'll also have social time on Zoom, hosted by Emersonian Marilyn Rambo. A chance for you to gather in smaller groups to discuss the service and what's going on in your lives. And now for our prelude.
Good morning, everyone. It is good, so good, to see you who are gathered in this sanctuary today and to know that there are so many more of you online. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the interim minister of this congregation. Many of you have seen the pastoral message that was sent out by eBlast last night. For those of you who haven't, we are gathering in the face of loss this morning. Our recently beloved membership coordinator, Audrey Gale Hall, has died. Even more tragically, her death came by suicide. This loss will, of course, affect each of us differently, depending on our relationships to her and to our shared identities, and to our own personal histories of tragedy and loss. For some of us, myself included, this is a devastating and traumatic loss. For others, it is a sad loss. For others still, you may be with us for the first time this morning, or you joined us after Audrey left Emerson this fall, or otherwise never had a chance to meet her. So today we come together as a community of faith, those of us who are mourning deeply, being held by others who feel stronger, knowing that at some other time our roles will be switched, and that this is what we do for each other and as a community. And as part of an even larger community of Unitarian Universalists, a special guest preacher is joining us from the Unitarian Universalist Trauma Response Ministry to help us out and to help me out. And he is doing so on very short notice. So with deep gratitude, I introduce to you the Reverend Charlie Dietrich, who is a retired Unitarian Universalist minister living in the center of New Jersey. He served congregations in New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, and is also a lead responder of the UU Trauma Response Ministry, which is a volunteer organization that helps UU congregations in times of need. And he will be joining us by Zoom from New Jersey today. And he will be speaking about the nature of resilience. Thank you, Charlie. And the service we had planned for today about love and will be happening next Sunday, so we won't miss out on that either. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, however much you are mourning or celebrating, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. You belong here. Our opening words this morning come from Tess Baumberger. We travel this road together, and I'll invite you to respond with, "We travel this road together." From the busyness of every day, we gather once a week to remember who we are, to dream of who we might become. We travel this road together. As companions on this journey, we share the milestones we meet along the way. Individual moments of joy and sorrow become shared moments of comfort and celebration. We share this journey across differences of belief and opinion because we value diversity and because we care for one another. We travel this road together. Today, as we take the next moves, let us notice our fellow travelers, the burdens that they carry, the songs that inspire their hearts. As we gather in beloved community, let us open the holy havens of our hearts. Let us share the sacred places of our souls, for we are pilgrims who share a common path. We travel this road together.
Every day brings struggle. Every day brings joy. Every day brings us the opportunity to ease the struggle of another, to be the joy in another's life. May this flame remind us to carry our light to each other and to the world. And as if you would stand, if you're able or in spirit, to join us in the opening hymn, hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. Giving out of our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Please give with a generous heart to support our February Share the Plate recipient, the Houston Food Bank. The Houston Food Bank serves a million food-insecure people in Southeast Texas. Not only does the organization put food on plates, but they help families achieve long-term stability through education, job training, and social service connections. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston's seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our website for online giving, or you can put your offering in our plates, baskets. You can mail a check to church. Please join me in the responsive reading in your hymnal number 468. And also, I bet you it'll be up there. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great things and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
Please find a comfortable place to be or in your seats. And place your feet flat on the floor if you can, and if you will, so that you might feel grounded or connected to the earth, which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in, as together we enter into a time of meditation, silence, and prayer. Sometimes there are no words, or the words simply won't come, or the words are inadequate. Sometimes the words will only come in song or in prayer, or as we rock back and forth. Sometimes the only thing we can do is sit together, holding each other's hands, holding each other's hearts, holding each other in silent witness. Sometimes, if the tears have already come or won't come, the only thing we can do is breathe. So let us breathe together now as one beloved community, in and out. In and out. In and out. And breathe together some more. In and out. In and out. Nice and deep. In and out. In and out. In and out. And continue to breathe together as we enter into a time of silence. Holy One, we have come together in the wake of a great loss to ourselves, to each other, to Audrey's friends and family, to other UU congregations and folks across the country. Even as we recognize this one dear loss comes in a sea of other losses from our own past, from the congregation's past, from the pandemic, from war, from the earthquake, from others unnamed. There are so many losses, too many to name. Even as we hold these losses dear, hold these losses close to our hearts, we know there will come a time to let go, to release the heaviest part of our grief, and that day will come differently for each of us. As we travel this path together, we are grateful for each other, for this community which holds us in our grief and celebrates with us in our joy when the time comes, each to its own. There is a season for everything, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. And we will do it all together, here in this congregation, and also with the congregation of First UU here in Houston, where Audrey was a member, and the congregation in Carrollton, where Audrey was most recently employed, and with the wider UU community of young adults with whom Audrey was working. May we all rest in the arms of an all-encompassing love and an everlasting peace. Amen, and blessed be. Let us join together in our next song, which is Comfort Me. You are invited to remain seated, to listen quietly, or to join in the song, however your heart moves you to do this morning.
Come
Here's a short reading from Robert Weston. Hope my audio level is good. He wrote, "This is the greatest skill of all, to take the bitter with the sweet and make it beautiful, to take the whole of life in all its moods, its strengths and weaknesses, and of the whole make one great and celestial harmony." Thank you, Reverend Michelle, for asking me to speak. Many years ago, I came down to the Gulf Coast and stayed for a week at a Unitarian Universalist church. It was the year after the flooding of New Orleans, when the levees broke. I came down during the interterm break at seminary, 1 year after Katrina, to worship with a sledgehammer and to pray with spackle and wallboard. And I remember that UUs came up from Texas on the weekends to help out the struggling people of New Orleans and southern Mississippi, to lend a hand. And so today I'm glad to return the favor as a member of the UU Trauma Response Ministry team. As I understand it, the death of your former staff member, Audrey Gale Hall, has shocked members of your congregation's staff and many in your congregation as well. Audrey was active with new members and with young adults, and was even scheduled to be part of the UU General Assembly. The tragedy of her death will be felt widely. And this is not your first unexpected death. Indeed, your congregation has had its own trauma on top of the community trauma of Harvey, of COVID, and the new unfolding trauma of earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. The mathematician in me wonders if trauma is additive or multiplicative. Each one seems to make the next one worse. And then I remember Elie Wiesel, the author who wrote about surviving the concentration camps during the Holocaust. One of his quotes is on gratitude. "For me," he wrote, "every hour is grace, and I feel gratitude in my heart each time I can meet someone and look at his or her smile." We might say, their smile. Now, some of you may not be feeling that kind of gratitude today, tomorrow, next week, or even several months from now. But I think that Wiesel's words can help us understand our world, our relationships with one another, and the purpose of a faith community. A congregation board president once said that their congregation existed to care for one another, especially when there was a profound hurt, and that the best religious communities can then extend that care and compassion to an ever-widening circles outside their doors. When members of a congregation experience a heavy loss, some organizations might encourage their members to push the pain aside, to minimize their personal hurt, to be strong and move on. Our Unitarian Universalist Trauma Response Ministry team is here to suggest a different way, to help you acknowledge that something has happened here, to look at each other's faces, even those with frowns or tears or even anger, to lament together, to give space, and to stay connected. Each traumatic event affects some members more deeply than others. People will have different responses and different ways to cope with the loss and with the myriad of feelings that follow it. Author on congregational systems, David Brubaker, lifted up two helpful congregational responses after a traumatic event. The trauma-informed congregation acknowledges what is happening to folks in the community. They help one another with their myriad emotions while sustaining relationships and encouraging self-care in dealing with trauma. A resilient congregation goes a bit further. They stick together. They find meaning in rituals and sharing stories which help them find their way to resilience. They work at building trust among leadership, members, and friends. They encourage one another to get additional help if it is needed. It is with this commitment to naming the hurt, sharing the stories, remembering how you have coped with difficult things in the past, that you sow the seeds of resilience. I want to introduce a term now, common with those who study this sort of thing: critical incident. Jeffrey T. Mitchell frames the definition of critical incident as any situation faced by any person that causes them to experience unusually strong reactions. Reactions which have the potential to interfere with their lives. This term frees us from using trauma and traumatic for every stressful situation. When something happens, whether it's a trauma, critical incident, or heavy stressor, our bodies produce stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, which help prepare us to act in an emergency. Our hearts may race, our muscles tighten as we prepare for flight, or possibly a freeze response. This is our body's way of helping us survive, whether a threat is actual or perceived. It's a powerful, unconscious mechanism. Stress can call us to our best selves. As Marge Percy wrote, to go into the fields to harvest, to work in a row, pass the bags along, put out the fire. This is eustress, a positive form of stress that challenges and lifts us. And maybe you're feeling that kind of stress today. Know that others may be feeling a different sort of stress, one which is not positive. Critical incident distress can hit you physically, emotionally, cognitively, or spiritually. We get headaches or overwhelming anxiety. We may feel confusion worsened by hormones coursing through us. We may not be able to think or talk clearly. We may despair. For many years before I became a minister, I was an active firefighter in an all-volunteer town. We were called to many heartbreaking fires or to lost person searches. And our job as professionals had clear boundaries. Put out the fire or search the area and then go home. And often that's what we did. When the fire was put out, we returned to our station. We went home and back to bed. Avoiding any emotional entanglement allowed us to be effective. But sometimes a friend or someone we knew lived in that house. We couldn't compartmentalize the trauma away. When that happened, our company was told to go off duty, offline. We would ask other fire companies to respond to our calls while we took the time to mourn, time to grieve, time to talk it out. An outside group sat with us, gave us some words and awareness we would not have otherwise had. Our neighboring fire companies took on the fire responses and gave us space for self-care. Self-care is extremely important when you face something that is overpowering. It's important to eat rest, exercise, reach out and care for your soul in ways that work for you. Often we ask people to think of any effective ways that they had handled stress before. We'd say, do you take a walk, meditate, pray, or read a beloved book? Do you like to journal, listen to your favorite music, or paint? When stressed, you might not remember to do what you love or what calms and centers you. Perhaps you put on a brave face, hiding the hurt. Perhaps you're ashamed to look at the faces of friends. We are here to remind you that something you already know. We found, and I think Unitarian Universalism in general affirms this, that people are naturally resilient. People are hardwired to make it through tough times and come out on the other side. We are more likely to be able to heal and transform our lives if we have others around us to catch us, listen to what weighs on our hearts, to be present when peace seems so far away. Our voluntary ministry is dedicated to helping congregations like yours in times like this, to mourn with you and to encourage you to see one another and find the resilience. We know one thing that is often forgotten. Rebuilding from trauma takes time. The heroic sandbag filling phase leads to many other emotions: grief, withdrawal, anger, wishful thinking. 2 years after my time removing moldy wallboard with a sledgehammer in New Orleans, I returned to that town as a student minister. That was 2 more years later, and the aftershocks of the tragedy were still occurring. For some, it was ancient history. For some, though they never knew the before. Holidays were, however, a time to remember. Remember those who were now gone. They dare no more, as well as those who touched our lives. I remember a Thanksgiving dinner where each person around the table told their Katrina story. The people distributing clothing at the campground near Jackson, Mississippi. The driver who took them to Baton Rouge. The children exploring a new playground. The ritual of celebrating Audrey's life will be important for many in your congregation. When events or anniversaries come around, you may want to gather together. Pause to share the memories, just as the Houston community will certainly commemorate the larger scale disasters. As you travel this road together, practice what Robert Weston called the greatest skill of all: to take the bitter with the sweet and make it beautiful. To take the whole of life in all its moods, its strengths and weaknesses, and of the whole, make one great celestial harmony. You're not alone, even though you may feel this at times. You're part of something larger and deeper than your congregation alone. The UU Trauma Response Ministry thanks you for reaching out as part of the web of help. We see you. We see the struggles that your leaders face. Be gentle with yourselves, my friends, and with one another. Together, you will make it through the heartache. Amen.
This reading is A New Song, A New Harmony by Richard Gilbert. By our presence here with one another, hearing the harmony that is the music of the spheres, may some of the harshness and discord of our human lives be transmuted into music. A new song in our hearts may there be, and a new harmony in our beings, so that we shall return to our several duties with fresh courage and with eagerness and with rejoicing. Now let us rise either in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, which is Come Sing a Song with Me. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Amen, and blessed be. You may be seated. Just a couple of announcements this morning. We will be having some social time here and on the Zoom. And the lunch bunch will not be meeting. Instead, they invite you to join with us for the Super, S-O-U-P-E-R, Bowl of Caring, which is a lunch to raise funds for the Houston Food Bank. So come across the courtyard that direction to enjoy soup, salad, bread, and desserts. You can drop cash or a check made out to Emerson in the big soup pot. Are you hungry but forgot your wallet today? No worries, you can drop your money in the offering plate later this month. I'd also like to share that pastoral care is available either from myself, the lay pastoral ministry team. Ian is here today, I'm not sure if there are any other members here today, but Ian is here. Stephen is here, yes. Ian this way, Stephen over there. And they're available if you would like someone to talk to. If you don't want to talk, but just sort of zone out and have something soft to pet, Bella is here as well. And she has brought you valentines and kisses, which are out in the narthex. So take a few on your way out. And now for our postlude.